Alrighty, well I did the video last night and I looked at it after uploading it and I was really disappointed with myself. So I'm going to kind of redo it and hopefully this time it works out a heck of a lot better, hopefully. Music. Why do we like what we do and why do we listen to what we listen to? I think it comes down to a very primitive side of ourselves that we often ignore. If you look through music, regardless of genre, location, who does it, who's making it, it always boils down to two primary instruments, the voice and drums. Or if they don't have drums per se, something to beat upon, something to make a banging sound. I think what happens, at least in the human body and the human mind, is whatever resonates specifically for an individual is what they will enjoy listening to, and that is why they make the musical choices they make. Based on the sound of the voice, sound of the rhythms, it's that flow that they personally find enjoyable. Philosophy doesn't have a place anymore. I think philosophy does have a place. I don't think it should be an independent studies class. I think it should be part of literature, as well as psychology actually, and we'll hit psychology here in a few minutes. But philosophy is a very important and key aspect to humanity, but it doesn't deserve its own sort of set-apart course and set-apart classing. It really should be part of your English studies and your history studies. There's a very deep, rich history to it, and unfortunately, oftentimes a lot of people miss out on it simply because it's not in the life path or education path that they choose. I think it should be taught earlier, in smaller pieces, so that people can gain an understanding of a different way of thinking. It'll improve their own thoughts and their own communications in society on a daily basis. Let's hit shrinks next. I know it's out of order, but hey, we're going to hit shrinks next. Do shrinks do anything useful for them? Yes and no. I think most of them are quacks, to be honest with you. The chemicals they introduce to people's bodies and into their lives can help them to a degree. Unfortunately, we have to look at it from the honest perspective that unless a person's willing to help themselves and improve themselves, you're probably not going to do anything. We should work with the person, helping them to improve themselves and helping them to fix their problems personally, rather than forcing chemicals down their throats, forcing drugs into them, and seeing what sort of effects and reactions we get out of it. Because honestly, no one wants to be a human vegetable, but there are cases out there where you cannot get through to a person no matter what you try, and unfortunately, in those cases, as much as this pains me to personally say, euthanasia may not be such a bad idea, even though I'm quite a bastard for saying it, but hey, as a humanitarian especially, but what the hell. I think it's better to protect society and themselves from themselves. If it can be proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that there is no hope for a person, and trust me, there are people out there that are irredeemable, and we should do the beneficial thing for them and us, instead of locking them up in a cell and pumping their ass full of drugs just to keep them alive. Be humane about the situation and put them down, simply put them down. There's no reason to keep them alive at that point if you're going to lock them up in a room and pump their ass full of drugs. Prostitution is one of the oldest jobs around. It's one of the few jobs that has never changed in essence from what it was. It should be legalized, it should be taught, it should be put into a program as such that both John and girl are protected as well as tested for STDs, etc., etc. The card for the John should include any sexual abuse, assault, or anything else of that nature, so that the girls know what they're getting into, if anything, and that the police can deny a license. If someone's found practicing either as a John or a girl without a license properly, they should be arrested instantly, sent to jail. There should be no trial, there should be no question, they should just be sent there, seeing as it's an abuse of power or abuse of the rules. For there would be a reason that they do not have a license, whether it's past assaults and abuses, an STD present in their system, or whatever. Gambling. Gambling, in my opinion, is an addiction. It should be treated like an addiction. Should it be outright banned? No, but it should definitely be a lot more regulated and observed than it is. I think a national gambling license of some sort should be kind of thought about, in that gambling is taxed via the purchasing of your license, and then at the same time, with the taxes that you pay off of your license, they have the option to introduce you to Alcoholics Anonymous style gambling programs for people who are truly addicted and help them work through it. If the person hits the point that they are going to cause themselves harm and cause their family harm, at that point I think they should be very strongly encouraged to quit gambling and outright removed from it if need be, simply to protect them from themselves. If I could blink out religion in a heartbeat, would I? No, it won't solve the problems of the world. People are people. We use religion as an excuse, and that's all it is. Would it quell a bunch of problems currently? Yeah, it would quell them for a while. But unfortunately, human nature would take over eventually, and we would end up back in the same situation we're in. Maybe not to the same degree, but it would definitely be the same sort of situation. If a god was to appear before me and tell me to kill someone, man, woman, child, whatever, I would tell them to go to hell and send me there with them, because I will not take another life. I have taken a life before. It was a rabbit. I guess I've taken two by technicality. I've also killed a deer. And let me put it to you this way. Looking into their eyes and watching that fear and terror in their eyes, it changes you. The deer was on purpose. The rabbit was a situational thing that I had no choice. It had been caught in a snare, and, well, it was going to die one way or the other. It was safer for us and easier for us as people to end its life then and there. The deer, on the other hand, was a exercise in rite of passage. And while I passed the rite of passage, but man, I tell you, looking down at that deer and watching those eyes and that terror in those eyes, oh, it changes you. It really, truly does change you. If you have any sense of anything in you, it really does change you. Have I ever thought of killing someone? Believe it or not, yeah. Only reason the bastard still lives today, A, at the time I did not have the facilities and or ability or opportunity to kill him, and B, I really don't want to end up in jail. That's the only reason the son of a bitch lives today. Do I consider humans cultured and civilized? Well, culture I can agree with. Civilized is a debatable thing. I think we have a full civilization, or we're full civilized, shall we say. And the fact that we very easily and very quickly can turn to a very primitive lifestyle and a very primitive way of thinking, disregarding everything else. Do we have a civilized society on general terms? Yes. Do we view other societies as barbaric? Yeah. But let's be honest with you. If you want an example of how tedious and how fragile our civilization is, look at the aftermath tree now. Not what was reported in the media, but what actually happened down there. You had packs of people running around, looting, raping, pillaging, plundering. You had people in uniform, police officers, people who are supposed to enforce the law, doing the same thing as these quote-unquote gangs that were doing stuff. It was done on both sides of the fence. It was done by both groups of people, both the people who are supposed to enforce the law and the people who are, well, supposed to obey the law. So no, are we civilized? We have a very full civilization. We have a very full civilized point of view. Part of the problem is the only way to truly be civilized, from what I've seen of humanity, and I have seen this one firsthand, I've seen 40,000 people live as one without any major incident whatsoever for a period of time. And my experience is that the community as a whole, the global community as a whole, would have to stand up and in one voice say, no, we will not tolerate extremism, we will not tolerate murder, we will not tolerate rape, we will not tolerate or allow things like this to happen. Civilization, let's be honest, really is a delusional state where we pretend to be more than we are. I can't say we're civilized yet. We have the potential to be, but we're not civilized yet. Morality. Morality is kind of a hard one for me to answer. The way I view it is there's kind of two forms of morality. There is the learnt morality that is instilled upon you by your parents, grandparents, their grandparents, that kind of just trickles through society, trickles through your bloodline generation after generation. And then there is the other side of that same pot of morality, which is what is imposed upon you by your culture, by your people, by your day-to-day interactions, by your education, and everything else. Then there's the second form of morality, which is the primal form of morality. The morality of self-preservation, the morality of self-defense, the morality of preserving and protecting your family. This morality we will automatically return to if for some reason the primary morality fails, versus the morality that you would normally associate with people outside of it. Morality truly becomes a situational thing. Does your primal morality overtake your normal morality? They were subject to a different. Rape, child molestation. Is rape natural? I've been fighting with this one for quite a while now, to be honest with you. Is rape natural? Well, rape is just forced sex. So is sex natural? Yeah. Is the forced part natural? Not really. The act itself is natural. It's a very hard one to nail down easily. Child molestation. Child molestation, from what I've seen so far of it, and what I've seen in documentaries of animals and stuff, seems to be a uncommon but present trait in most ape cultures and most ape groups to minor degrees. It's not exactly accepted by the normal tribes and groups, but it does exist to a minute degree. I would say part of it is the sexual nature of the creature involved. As for the question of whether it's natural or not, I would say it's an unnatural act cloaked in the illusion of natural action. The Big Bang, the beginning and end of the universe, I think it's a philosophical question, ironically, at the moment at least, simply because our science has not hit the point that we can explain it. I think it kind of is a representation of the idea that energy is neither created nor destroyed, only changes form. So if you look at it from that perspective, energy just simply changed form and became matter. And if you want to call that the beginning, so be it. Will it have an eventual end? Well, if you use that theory, then no, there's no end to it. It just changes form.